We are out on a dairy farm for a few days of hunting, camping, and enjoyment of the great outdoors. In the previous episode, we headed out with the 22-50 Remington in terrible conditions and managed to get down a decent number of Egyptian geese and a couple of ducks. We headed up the mountain to find a camp spot and spent the evening under heavy cloud cover, cooking meat on the fire with no shoes like any typical South African scallywags would. And today we found ourselves waking up to more heavy skies. The goal today is to get out the air guns and get to work on some problem birds around the calf enclosures. We'll be focusing in particular on the laughing doves, Cape turtle doves, and sparrows. We pack up camp, keeping fingers crossed that the rain stays away for a while, and start making our way down the mountain towards the dairy. Arriving at the calf enclosures, we found that unfortunately there is some wind to deal with, but it is manageable, and we'll be shooting slugs today. That should help just give us a little bit of an edge when holding for wind. So I've filmed a few videos here before, including one called, I think it's called The Best Pigeon Hunt You'll Ever See, in which I shot like over 200 birds in just a few minutes. That video's got well over 1 million views, so obviously you guys enjoyed it, and we're going to be doing more of the same today, but this time we have a different plan. You know how these rock pigeons and some of these doves are. They see a dead bird on the ground, they come and land there. They're so dumb, they think that that bird is actually feeding, and they'll come land right next to it. So we're going to get things rolling by putting out some rock pigeon decoys. You can see some of them already have holes in them. I've actually mistaken these for pigeons before and shot them and wondered why they didn't go down. But we're going to put these out probably in one of these camps where there aren't cattle, just so that we don't take the risk of the cattle coming and knocking them over or just getting in the way of the shot. And then we're going to sit back and wait. There's not much wind right now, which is great. It gives us a chance to use some of the weaker guns. I say weaker, but like standard power 35 foot-pound 22 cals, and hopefully it doesn't rain. But let's get these out and let's get going. I know that these decoys work because I've had great success with them in the past. However, pigeons are funny animals. One day they'll show up in their thousands, and the next day they'll be completely missing in action. You just never really know what you're going to get. Well, while we're waiting for the birds to come in, let me introduce the guns we're going to be using today, because it's been a while since I've used them. Both of these are shooting FX hybrids, which are 22 caliber slugs, which are pretty light at 22 grains. So they're essentially pellet guns, which are slightly tuned up to shoot these at just over 900 feet per second. First gun is the FX Wildcat Mark III. It's mostly stock. The only thing I've done is I've put a sling on here just to make it easy to walk with. This is a fantastic gun to walk around with. And I've also put a Hugget shroud on here for a Wildcat, which keeps it nice and quiet without adding extra weight, which I think is awesome. So it's a quiet little 22 cal with a 500mm barrel, and shooting hybrids to get some decent shots per fill as well. On top I've got the 60-24x50 helix. I think this is the second focal plane. Yep, this is the second focal plane with the clean mill reticle, and I've got the Element Aculite mount on top as well. So that's an awesome setup. And then very similarly, I've got a FX Dreamline. It's got the little power plenum on it to give us slightly more power. So this is putting out the hybrids out of a 500mm barrel at like 920, 930 feet per second. And it's got the beautiful GRS stock, which I really love. So also shooting hybrids, and this one's got the first focal plane 60-24x50 Element Helix. So let's get the scope cam on these two babies and let's see what they can do. Should be getting some awesome footage today. While we wait for the pigeons and doves, we decide to get to work on some sparrows, which have been taunting us since we've arrived. These are invasives that look innocent to those who don't know them well, but on farms like this they are generally overpopulated, and being quite aggressive birds, they tend to chase away other species from food and nesting spots. Add to that the fact that they like to nest in rooftops and poop all over walls. Yeah, they have to go. First one down, hopefully first of many. Just a little sparrow, but the sparrows are also problem birds here. There's way too many of them, and very happy to send a little hybrid through them if we get the opportunity. It's a little bit unfair to put the sparrows up against hybrid slugs. I mean, you just have to nick them and they'll go down instantly and cleanly. But I don't believe it's overkill, because I know for a fact that I'd definitely be missing more of these shots with pellets. The ballistic coefficient of the hybrids is more than half that of a pellet of a similar weight, which means far less wind drift and a higher hit percentage. Up until now, the doves have been really scarce, but we start to see a few coming in eventually. Unfortunately though, they aren't the species that we're looking for, so we leave them be. So we just had a few doves come in, but they are actually Namaqua doves, not any of the sort of problem doves like the red-eyed turtle doves, laughing doves, Cape turtle doves, stuff like that. I've actually done a video of this a few years ago. I can't remember what it was called. I'll put a text down below here, but basically discussing, you know, which birds we shoot and which birds we don't shoot, and why we shoot the birds that we shoot. Essentially it comes down to competition for feed. It gets quite dry here, and you've got species like Namaqua doves, which are a lot rarer than some of the more abundant doves, and what we do is we shoot some of the more abundant doves to allow the rarer doves to actually survive and to compete for that rare food source. So we leave the Namaqua doves alone. Hopefully we get some cool footage of them, but it's really the Cape turtle doves, red-eyed turtle doves, laughing doves, rock pigeons and feral pigeons that we're after. So the wait continues. Perfect. Well, there you go. That was either a red-eyed turtle dove or a Cape turtle dove, but either way it's one of the birds we're after, and that hybrid just went straight through perfect. What's so great about the hybrids is you've got essentially double the ballistic coefficient of an 18 grain pellet, but you're not using a lot of air because it's so light. It's very easy for a standard superior liner, which is kind of the standard that you get with most pellet shooting air guns like this. That barrel stabilizes the hybrids perfectly well. You don't need any fast twist barrels, and it just cuts through the air fantastically. So like over there we've got a bit of a crosswind, I could just hold dead on and it did the job, whereas with the 18 grain pellet I probably would have had to hold a little bit off and the pellet would have had to curl in. So hybrids, yes, they cost a bit more than pellets, but they are such an awesome option for stuff like this. Here's a missed shot at a laughing dove from around 60 meters or so, and this is 100% my fault. I'm so used to the impact which shoots flat from 25 to 60 meters that my brain didn't fully comprehend that I had to hold almost a full mil for the shot. Yes, hybrids drop less than pellets, but these hybrids are being shot relatively slow at around 880 feet per second and have a lower BC than the heavy javelins that I shoot out the impact at over 1,000 feet per second. Still completely my fault though, and this is still a great gun. I've forgotten how much I like the Wildcat. It's just such a small, light, maneuverable gun. The impact, which I've been using a lot, as you know, is so perfect for situations like, let's say, monkey hunting, where you might only get like 2 or 3 shots in a day, and you have to make those shots count, and you know you don't have time to read the wind, or you may get your range slightly wrong. The impact is so forgiving because it's such a flat shooting, powerful gun. But the Wildcat, even at these lower powers, for pest control like this, where you at kind of closer distances, set distances where you've got a little bit more time to set up, is really the ideal setup, and I'm really enjoying myself. So far we haven't had any doves come in. We've had a few doves and pigeons that have kind of come and they're about to land, but then they realize that the decoys, there's something not quite right with them, and then they fly off, but it's looking quite promising. Hopefully they come land. Obviously they are priority because they eat a lot more than the smaller birds, and also they can be eaten by the farm workers, so it's a source of meat. But these sparrows, they cause the same problems, just they're just obviously a lot smaller, so they consume less. So, you know, it would be nice to get pigeons and doves, but if it's just sparrows today, I'm still happy with that. The strategy today is to just move along the fence line, as the doves tend to land pretty close by in trees inside the surrounding paddocks. It's just a case of getting within range, and the fence poles provide a pretty stable resting spot for the Wildcat, especially with a good sandbag.
Yo, it's hard.
I think I pulled that one. This time I get my holdover perfect, but just pull it off to the side. So close though. It's been a fairly slow morning by this farm standards, but we decided to take a lunch break and head out to an open field, away from the smells and sounds of the dairy, which aren't always pleasant. And out comes the awning. So, lunch break, just as the sun's starting to peek out, which is awesome. I really did expect the worst of the weather this morning when I saw it, but it's turned out to be pretty awesome. So, super happy with that. We're probably going to do boerewors rolls for lunch. We've got some boerewors rolls in the fridge there. Also got a whole bunch of snacks over here, all kinds of stuff. But I think we'll stick to the boerewors rolls. I think we're craving a proper hot meal. We kind of skipped breakfast this morning, so let's go ahead and do that. And yep, just relax a bit. I think it's been a bit of a slow morning. Maybe slightly disheartening that we haven't got more down, especially with the air gun. We were expecting a lot more pigeon and dove activity, and unfortunately nothing came. But I think we'll probably take a break, have some food, and then start heading back there and basically carrying on with the pigeons and doves. And hopefully there's some animals coming into the decoys. Normally afternoon is their time, so we'll see what happens. Back at the paddocks, we are welcomed not only by a stampede of calves running towards the vehicle, but also a flock of doves feeding towards the back of the paddock. I've switched to the Dreamline GRS now, probably the most ergonomic gun I have in my massive collection, and I start preparing for a shot. At first, all we can get lined up on are Namakwa doves, but eventually we get the green light with a laughing dove at about 25 meters. There you go. Dead on the spot. Hybrid slug, 920 feet per second. Did the job perfectly. But these doves are onto us. You can see that they're not as stupid as the pigeons. They don't believe in safety in numbers. If they see another dove get shot, they fly away straight away. Whereas the pigeons, as you would have seen in previous videos, they come back straight away. I don't know why we haven't seen a single pigeon. Could be a number of factors. Could be just the time of year. We normally come more in the middle of winter. It's a little bit after the middle of winter now. Could also just be the weather with all this overcast, all the rain. Maybe they found food sources elsewhere. But for whatever reason, we haven't seen a single pigeon. So decoys have been not very helpful. But yep, if we can get a couple doves, I'll be very happy. It's a pretty moody day, but thankfully the wind has been manageable and the rain has stayed away. Oh, I got him. Nice. So wind died down there a little bit, 75 meters. Hold a little bit for wind, and we'll have to see in the scope cam footage how much the wind actually made a difference, but hit him and looks like he's gone down within a few seconds of being hit, so pretty happy with that. Yeah, as I was saying, with a higher power gun, your margin for error is so much greater. So let's say, for example, 60 meters. With this Dreamline, I have to dial, what is this, 1 point something mils for 60 meters. Whereas with the Impact, if I zero at 25 meters, which is the same zero distance as this gun, 60 meters is my second zero, so I'm not holding over at all. I literally, so anywhere between 25 and 60, I can just hold dead on, and I don't really have to hold for any minor wind like this. Whereas this gun, not only am I holding for wind, but I'm also having to dial a significant number of clicks to even get to 60. So if my range is slightly wrong, or if the bird walks a certain distance after I've ranged it, then I'm back to square one and I've missed the bird or injured it, which is not what you want. So that's an argument for having a higher power air gun. But that being said, at sort of closer distances, or if you can get your range right, this carries more than enough energy to do the job.
At this point we turn our focus back to the sparrows, or mossies as we call them here in South Africa, and we get a number of opportunities with the Dreamline.
Nice. Sparrow at 70 meters, which just shows the gun's very, very accurate, very capable. It'll shoot a sub MOA group at 100 meters, no problem with the hybrid slugs. As I said, it's just a matter of getting your range right and holding. But there's lots of sparrows there, and I'm pretty much spot on, so I might as well just keep going. A lot of sparrows there. Another one down.
The doves are being clever once again and feeding close to the cows where we can't take a safe shot, so we wait it out, and eventually one makes the mistake of landing on a fence. I hadn't set up my scope cam correctly for this gun, so some of these clips aren't perfectly focused, but you get the idea.
Laughing dove, another one. Really glad to get these down. It's pretty frustrating when you see a bunch of doves on the ground, you look at them and there's like emerald spotted wood doves and Namakwa doves and stuff, everything that we're not going after. There's another laughing dove there.
I absolutely nailed the sparrow, and I'm going to pause the clip here as the slug's about to make contact. You can see the recessed base of the hybrid slug in perfect clarity just before it strikes. Pretty cool.
The wind is pumping, unfortunately.
I have to rush this one as this Cape Turtle dove moves behind a pole and it flies just over him. Once again, just a calculation error on my part, but I'll make it up shortly afterwards with a sparrow. Or rather, two sparrows. The next morning we head back out to the dairy once again, and while the sun has come out and we are grateful for the warmth, the wind unfortunately has just picked up even more, and we know it's going to be fairly tough. Having had success with the Wildcat yesterday, I decided to bring her out once again, and I've got to say, I'm really enjoying this gun. I'll leave info in the video description so you can check out all the gear I'm using in this video, but it's a great setup. The decoys are still out, and we're hoping that they work their magic today as we walk down the fence line looking for dove number 1 of the day.
I don't think it's just coincidence that we've shot a couple doves close to the decoys. They're not landing on the ground at the decoys, but I think that the doves that are in the vicinity of the decoys feel a bit more comfortable sitting there. So yeah, we've just shot one now on the ground right next to the decoys, probably 4 or 5 meters away, and then a sparrow on a fence pole right next to them as well. So it is working. It's just not quite in the numbers that we had last time, but we'll take that. It means maybe we did a better job than expected last time around.
One of the features of the Wildcat I'm really enjoying today is the ability to just sling it over my shoulder. The Impact is a heavier and longer gun that can cause your arms to tire a bit after a while the Wildcat is just so much easier to shoot all day with. That fatigue factor is just not there. With the wind picking up and with some ground squirrel hunting still to be done, I take one more shot before making the decision to call it a day and pack up. It hasn't been the same chaotic shooting frenzy that we experienced the previous time we were out here, but I really enjoyed just picking up some old favorites in the Wildcat and the Dreamline and reminding myself that there's more to life than an FX Impact and super heavy slugs. Be sure to subscribe down below to get notified of future uploads, and please click like if you enjoyed this video to let YouTube know that it's a good one. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.